Hey folks, so I'm going live on StreamYard, and if you do want to make any comments or have any questions that you want to ask, please do give StreamYard permission so that I can see who you are. So it's Vicky Midwood here. For those of you who don't know me, I am the Addiction and Disordered Eating Eliminator. And what does that even mean? Well, it means that I help people to overcome their issues with body image, weight, binge eating, disordered eating, bulimia, and alcohol addiction too. Now, I wanted to jump on here today because I don't know if you caught the news early this morning, or even if you're watching the news early this morning. It's something that I restrict myself to just in the mornings only for around about half an hour, just to find out what's going on. Other than that, I really don't want to know. But it was interesting that they were interviewing a doctor who was talking about the prevalence of disordered eating, especially among children and teenagers, and it's happening amongst adults too. And I know that it's a difficult issue to talk about, and it's a difficult issue to address because there's a lot of secrecy, a lot of guilt, and a lot of shame goes on when you have issues around food. And if anybody knows me at all, they'll know that I'm very open with my story. But I never used to be, and I would do my utmost to find ways to hide how I was behaving around food for years and years and years. And it is depressing. It is a struggle. It adds more stress to what is going on and how you're feeling. And I absolutely understand that for a parent who is watching their child going through it, it's horrific because you feel so helpless. You don't know what to say. Whatever you do say seems to be the wrong thing. And it's a bit of a minefield. Now, obviously, there is help out there, and you can Google help for disordered eating. But I often find that sometimes it can be a little bit kind of clinical and to the point, and you really need to speak to somebody about your situation and what is going on. Now, I am not qualified to work with teenagers, but obviously I am qualified to work with adults. So just to let you know, I'm an integrative health, nutrition and lifestyle coach, but I'm also a certified eating freely therapist. And the Eating Freely program helps you to overcome those issues with binge eating, emotional eating and bulimia. And it's different from many other programs because we actually do look at nutrition and gut health and how your brain is functioning, because although disordered eating and issues with food is very much emotionally driven, there is a physiological and a chemical aspect that you need to kind of understand, which will help you to be a little bit kinder to yourself, because you'll realize that it's not all to do with willpower, but also to be able to start to make some very simple, not too challenging changes. And it's always helpful to speak to somebody who's been where you have been, because one thing that I do know is that it always feels like you are the only person who feels the way that you do. Now, when I was throwing up multiple times a day and I was stealing food because I couldn't afford to get the amount of food that I would binge on, I kept all of that stuff hidden. And the stress of working out when I could do it, how I could do it, and all that kind of stuff meant that I was very much introverted and a bit of a hermit, but I wasn't in lockdown. And I honestly do not know how I would have coped with this whole lockdown scenario, because I was able to go out and get stuff and hide it, and other people were out of the house. So if you are somebody who is watching your child struggle, or you are a young person who is worried about your behavior because you're constantly thinking about food, you're constantly jumping on the scales, you're constantly pulling at parts of your body and criticizing yourself, I want you to know, A, you're not on your own, and B, you can get over this stuff, and it doesn't have to be devastatingly difficult, and it doesn't mean that you have to put on a shed load of weight if that's what you're worried about. But it is important that you talk about it, because the more you keep this stuff inside, the more you hide it, the worse you're going to feel. That I can promise you. I hid it, sat on it for a long time, and it made coming out of it so much harder. Now, I'm going to kind of talk about alcohol in the same light, folks. As adults, it's kind of allowed, isn't it? And we joke about it. There's so many memes and stuff on Facebook about making light of how much we're drinking through lockdown, and also there's memes with people having gained 2 or 3 stone because of lockdown. Right? Not helpful if you've got an issue yourself. And I know they are funny, and I've been through my issues and come out the other side, and I can see the funny side to some extent, but I can also see the damage that these things are doing, because it's accepted and it's normal for us to turn to alcohol when we're in this scenario where we're all stressed and we're worried about the unknown. Here's the thing, it makes you feel worse, okay? And it absolutely does. And for those of you who are using alcohol, you know this because it's your experience. You're going to wake up in the morning feeling rubbish. You're going to wake up with that dry mouth. You're going to wake up with foggy brain. You're going to wake up with no motivation and wanting to throw the duvet back over your head. If you've got a combination like I did of the alcohol and the food, then your brain's going to start going off on what you're allowed to eat, what you can't eat, what you can eat, what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat. How am I going to get the exercise in without people knowing? Am I going to shut myself in my bedroom and do crazy amounts of sit-ups and burpees and put my music on loud so other people can't hear? Am I going to get food out of the bin and hide it? And am I going to steal stuff out of the cupboard and pretend that somebody else has taken it so that I can binge on it later? Yeah, I've done all of that stuff. Right? I absolutely get it. It is so exhausting. It is so stressful. And I want to tell you that there are people like me who you can reach out to. Try, if you can, to reach out to somebody who understands you, have a conversation, message me, just put a comment below this video if you want to know how to get in touch with me. The important thing is that what you perceive to be helping you to feel better is ultimately going to have consequences, and it's going to make you feel worse. But what I want you to know is that you can cope in different ways. It's about you understanding what's driving you to turn to food and to alcohol. And then once you understand that, knowing that there are alternatives that you can do, but you're going to need to do a little bit of work on yourself to help you to then stay consistent. So it's just not, oh, I'll do it for a day or I'll do it for a week and then I'll revert back. We're all in this lockdown scenario here in the UK for a month. And this is a prime opportunity for you to get honest and have a look at yourself. And if you promised you were going to do something in first lockdown, but you didn't, then maybe now is the time for you to get really honest and really truthful with yourself, and look to maybe reaching out for a conversation or just a chat to see what you can do to help yourself to change things. Because when alcohol and food were our solution, but then they turn into our biggest problem, life feels shit, I can tell you that. And it gets harder and harder and harder unless you A, acknowledge it, and then B, decide that you want to change it. Now, here's the thing, and if any parents listening and you've got kids who are going through this, you can't change them by going on at them and telling them what they should do, what they should be eating. That's literally adding fuel to the fire. So as much as you want to help, please back off and don't start giving them instructions and telling them what they should do, because when they don't feel that they can do it and they're not able to do it, they're going to feel even worse about themselves, which is going to make them want to take more steps to have more control. So parents, if you do want some advice, please do reach out. And if you are suffering yourself, the same applies. You can check out who I am and what I do on my own website. That's vickymidwood.com. You can also check me out as one of the therapists on the eatingfreely.com website. Just go to therapists and click on UK. As I say, I have lived through this. I use the Eating Freely program. Why? Because it works. Because it encompasses everything that I had to discover for myself the hard way. And If the Eating Freely program is not what you actually need, I'm going to help you to work out what it is you need too. And if I'm not the person to help you, that's okay. But the point is, if you can reach out and just talk about it, it's going to help you to start to take the first step to making some kind of changes so that you can feel a little bit more in control. I hope that's been helpful to you folks. We are all in this together, and it's so important that we talk, but it's also really important that we talk to the right people who are not going to judge or condone or condemn or be disgusted by your behaviour around food. They're not going to be horrified about the amount of food you get through. They're not going to be disgusted by the fact that you're, that you are eating out of the bin, or that you're throwing up multiple times a day and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to be grossed out because I've probably done it. And I'm not going to judge you if you are drinking and hiding it and having to, put a slug of Bailey's in your coffee first thing in the morning just to get you going, because I used to do that, right? So what I'm saying to you is be careful who you talk to. Talk to a person who gets you and who can understand, but crucially, who can also help you. It might be me, it might be somebody else, but do please talk about what's going on and how you're feeling. You're not on your own. Okay, and on that note, have a good Monday, and I do hope to connect or to have a conversation with some of you really soon.